Okay, here we go. Here we go. So I trust that everybody is seeing and hearing me well. All right. So this is again the Wealthy Bot Mastermind group, and this group was formulated because I saw there to be a real interest in not only Wealthy Bot but also cryptocurrency. But I also saw that there were some that needed that connection. Now, of course, we have a Telegram group, and the Telegram group is on point. I mean, there's a lot of questions. Remember, we have people coming in every single day. We also have live support. So again, we're working to just assist as many as possible, but realize, especially if charts are going up, charts are going down, or something's going on with the system, we may at times be overwhelmed with messages. But I think our turnaround time is excellent. And first and foremost, I'm Seven Bomar. I just wanted to, for sure, take a moment to introduce myself because some may have not seen me before. You may have registered for the software, had no clue of what the software is related to as far as if it was a part of another platform or who the creators were, and just used it and it's been working for you. So with the consideration of that, I do want to let you know that I'm a person that has been doing some heavy investigation on a lot of the real aspects of life. I always call that God love money. We kind of summarized it that pretty much it feels like that people are extremely dedicated to one, if not all of those things. And we look into those fields in order to find the deeper levels of connection and to bring something harmonic into our space. So when we did that with money, when we wanted to actually solve the money problem for our tribe, since we had already amassed a great deal of wisdom on other stuff like metaphysics and how to get yourself into a whole different level spiritually, we thought, hey, surely this money thing can't be as hard as this spiritual thing. So we challenged ourselves, and it was a bit of common sense. You know, when you're looking for current or currency, you have a tendency to need to go just where it's flowing the most. And it just so happens that we've entered an era where the product is money. I'll say that again, that the product is money. Normally in a product, normally in business, there's a product, right? So either it's the music or it's some type of food stuff, some type of diamond, a piece of gold, or whatever. In this case, the product is the product, and that means that the level of transfer for the money to you is instant. There's nothing out there like that. This is called a financial technology, of course, or under the conservative term fintech. And the most key fundamental about things like this, just like when the internet launched, is to just be early. Not actually on time. You got to be early. So if you found yourself crashing into this meeting today, even though we held the spaceship back for 10, 15 minutes, try not to do that in your life. Try not to be late. Try to be a little bit early on things and stay advanced, especially when you know that folks can get phased out. Like I looked at my great grandparents, and their ability to adapt to this system is almost zero. And so why we may be looking for the pie in the sky or something to come and save us, I'm telling you, there's folks that have been run over in more crazier conditions. So use the power that you have now. You have a library. Like, man, there are times in my life where just having a library was like having everything because it's there. So it is all about how much you're investing your time. There's a billion things to do right now. You can go run some bath water. You could go jump in the car and drive down to the store. You can go and pick up somebody's kids. I mean, man, I could go all day about the things that you can do, but you only have a certain amount of time. So time is the governor in this thing. So the whole goal is maximizing how you're spending your time. So this came up to me as one of the things that I felt like were really sometimes a derailment on maybe even our spiritual path, our job. You know what I mean? Like what we have to do every single day to actually make ends meet. And I saw that the big time, because I happened to watch a lot of their portfolios, that they were going into automation, that everything that they had designed was becoming autonomous, that there was a desire to actually remove the human because the human brings some unknown components. And when you're trying to just get something streamlined and replicated and clone it and keep spitting out the same thing over and over again, folks that get up different every morning don't seem to fit in the plan. So I covered a lot of this for those who have interest in these kind of topics in the Conscious Economic Forum of 2020. Maybe somebody here could drop that link inside of you from YouTube here inside the chat. If you haven't seen this yet, I mean, it's illustrated, so you'll at least be entertained a little bit. Go sit on the toilet and watch it there. Go jump in the bathtub. Wherever you feel like you may have some extra time, go and do it there. and just check out what I'm laying out, because I'm laying out the future. Now, I talk about Ethereum when it was still on Kickstarter. I came in about 2016, 2017 in there into the crypto space. I saw this from a totally different level about how when epochs changes, the money changes. And actually people even change their God based on the money. Now what I'm saying is more than true than ever, especially since we saw that this new age of Ethereum. So there's two sides to this world. Ethereum is obviously your spiritual body, your actual energy. People are starting to tap into that now and figure out, it's always been there, but they're starting to think about that more. And how can I get more etheric energy and regenerate my body? Because it doesn't matter how much money I have if I'm not around to spend it, or if I'm all decrepit and old, it's not going to help me. So there is that aspect that now is coming forward to humanity, that, hey, you have an energetic field around you. But the as below one, if you may, is all strictly related to external material as possible, but in every context, money. And now money has become digital. And this digital money has basically evoked what you would say is a digital God. Everyone knows that statement, God, in God we trust on the money. That's the God they trust, okay? So when we think about this digital God coming in, it's dwarfing the old energies. So the old energies were, of course, fiat currency, paper money, and also dimes, coins, nickels, the change, okay? And the interesting thing about money is when you're trying to scale money, it becomes very difficult to do that when you have something that is made out of a non-scalable resource. So copper, aluminum, steel, these tend to become non-scalable resources, especially if the bank has to print up a bunch of copper pennies and give them to you so you can throw them in the carpet and throw them all in the bottom of the seat and everything, because who's using pennies, right? So there has been a concern to not only scale up money in the sanctum of finance, but also to really gain more control over large transactions and who is making those large transactions. But this gaining control didn't come from the side like, okay, we need to find out who's making the large transactions and get to them, because those are the people that we're trying to catch. It came more from large transactions are already being made on this new thing called blockchain through these things called cryptocurrency like Black Bitcoin, et cetera. And we need to get into that space, because to be able to move trillions of dollars, even $1 billion, what we're looking at today was a $400 billion wipe off the market over the last 2 days. So that transaction can take place way faster than if you got $400 billion anyway, and you try to go into a bank anywhere, you're not walking out of that bank. And that bank it's impossible. It's a fiction for somebody to have that much money, or even 10, 20 billion, having that kind of money in your bank account. You wouldn't know what that was like, maybe, for obvious reasons. However, when you start moving into numbers like 5, 10 million, 15 billion, you start getting a lot of kickback from financial institutions based on where that money is actually coming from. If it's raw profit or if it's credit, how and where should you obtain it? So there's a lot of oversight just with success. Now, I know everyone here, this is a tribe, is into having success. You wouldn't have gone through reading all these documents about utilizing this software and all that kind of stuff if you weren't into your success. But it's very interesting that our success at times needs us to really pave a way to where that success would come from anyway. So if you plan on being a multimillionaire, you got to ask yourself, is the fiat world really open up enough to allow you to become a multimillionaire there? Or to make that a reality, do you need to move into something else? That something else is obviously cryptocurrency. Now, we have to say for the record that even when they squeeze something else, like we already see universal basic income, we already see cryptos or coins that are pegged to the dollar that belong to the country. So we see all of these things already. And realistically, we have to ask ourselves, if we think that when something starts coming down, putting more pressure on somebody or everybody, will there be times where there's no way out? I personally don't believe that's true. I think that because of how the reality is designed, There'll always be something that you can move into or something else that you can do, and it will thwart or nullify whatever is going on in that other space. But that may not be broadcasted everywhere. That may not be when you go downtown or when you turn on the news or when you turn on any kind of form of program stimulus. This is not going to be what they're going to be talking about, is how to release you from everything that's going on, right? That's a part of their little group. In addition to that, you got to realize that from a strict competition level, if you become a multimillionaire, you actually move another multimillionaire out of that position. It doesn't become that, it just keeps filling up with more and more multimillionaires. I'm talking about in that fiat system. It means that somebody goes broke. That's how a debt-based system works, where one comes up, somebody must go down. It's in the first act. If somebody lends you money and they lend it to you with interest, which is why ancient religions have no interest. Ancient tradition have no interest. You just give it and you get it back. Because if you say, I want more than what I gave to you, that means that person now has to go and get that from someone too. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to do that in the same way that you did it to them. So they're going to ask for more than they really worth. And it's going to keep passing down. Eventually it gets to the little guy, right? And so what's happening now is we have a window that's opening up that has multiple strategies within it. This is cryptocurrency. And what we utilize it for and how we utilize it may be the governor itself of how we're able to maneuver in this future, which kind of looks like cyberpunk 2022 or whatever they call it. Meaning it's a future that is here. Artificial intelligence, as we spoke on last night in Clubhouse, is already deployed. It's at enterprise level. This means that corporations are using it because corporations are the ones that can afford it. For you to have an artificial intelligence application built, or for you to have one, it needs to be customized for you. And the teams that know how to do that, they're booked out until the next 5 years. They're booked out by companies and corporations that are saying, hey, bring this thing in. Let me tell you our problems. And then you ask it, how do we fix our problems within our company, about our competitors, et cetera. So with that happening, you get somewhat of a quantum shift that happens in the reality fast. You may think that, it may be about 5 or 6 more years before things start changing into something else. But because these are quantum technologies, they move much faster. And even the amount of currency moving through, billions of dollars, et cetera, in short speeds, says that this current is a lot faster and it's a lot stronger. So just like a surfer, if you jump on the board, you do need to know what you're doing or you can get wiped out. And more or less like a tsunami, everybody on the shore may get wiped out too, and you may still be able to stay on the board. I can't lie to you about anything that's going on. I'm only giving you my opinion based on all of what I know and all of what I've read and all of what I've learned and studied from my own experience. And that's what makes this a masterclass. So this is not, if you're here early, I hate for wasting your time to this point, but if you're here to ask specific questions like, how do I start a trader, right? Or how do I use the gateway? This is definitely not that meeting. You can always hit up support or hit Telegram and ask it there, and someone's going to fire you an article. So this is not the, hey, my HNT position is not closing meeting, because if we did that, then I'm sure that we'd probably lose everybody here very fast, because they'd be like, hey, man, I'm here for something else. So what this is, to be a masterclass, is a crash course and a rebirth of how to utilize not only the system, but also the technology behind the system, cryptocurrency, to get yourself to another stage. And so what that means first, though, is that we really need to educate on something that is very important to understand about how WealthyBot works. So there's no misconceptions that we have some kind of crystal ball over here, or, we have one of the AIs sitting over here in the corner somewhere and it knows everything that's going on, because I wouldn't say nothing like that exists. I would say that it's extremely rare, okay? So the first thing here is that obviously it is just my luck, that there's always a dip. Meaning that if I'd have come in a week ago, maybe the number today would have been double. It would have been 400 in here, right? Because we were all the way up, right? But we always have a saying that what goes up does come down at least a little bit, and it's healthy for that to happen. It's called correction. Okay, Now, the correctional swing between Bitcoin is aggressive because you got to realize there are places in the world right now that cannot buy Bitcoin. And everybody's just kind of scrambling around trying to actually get some. So it's still weird that every time the dip happens, I don't care how long you've been in this, you think it's all over. And that's what makes the space so volatile. Even diamond hands, that means the person who's sitting there that's been hodling for years, even is seeing a drop on a 48 to 58,000 or 58 to 48,000 is like, man, should I took my 50,000 or 60,000? It has to remind themselves, wait a minute. It's just not about that alone. It's actually a real full-blown war going on here, right in front of your eyes. Two dragons, if you may. The fiat world, the Rockefellers, right? And then a new digital-looking dragon, which is Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Keanu Reeves, Leonardo DiCaprio, several different names of families that were rivaling this family when the dot-com thing happened. So it's important for me just to give you that context to remember that. So there was already old money in the world, and the old money switched over to oil money. That's kind of like that was their scaling up after all of the swashbuckling. So their scale up was oil. But this other group that was emerging didn't have a fuel, and that fuel started really off of certain things that were learned in occultism. Steve Jobs even learned certain things from the original groups. And this talked about different principles of how money works. It talked about a lot of different things that eventually, even as the internet or the Ethernet came out, kind of stemmed into taking concepts that were only available on the metaphysical or spiritual plane and putting them into something that was external. So thus, the birth of things like the computer happened, the birth of things like the internet happened, because it's the same principles of how our consciousness works, even our bodies work, but it's taken into an external aspect and utilized and harnessed for that potential. So this family, when the offer was presented in Silicon Valley, even to the Rockefellers, that internet was coming online, and if they wanted to invest in it, the Rockefellers laughed about this. And again, I'm saying Rockefeller is an overarching branch here. They laughed at this, about this idea that someone would go online and buy something. Why wouldn't they just get it in the store? And you could see that kind of mindset. It was as simple as that. Somebody's going to go and buy some clothes off the internet. I will say it is still a little bit difficult to buy clothes off the internet. So they was right about that. But it seemed like they didn't think about all the other stuff that would have taken it to another level, like stuff that's already packaged and ready to go. So they passed. I pass. And the same people who were shopping that deal, which seem to have a broader objective than most have realized, but that's another conversation. They shopped that deal to certain families that were upcoming families. They took that deal and they became the world's new powers. This is the Bezos, this is Elon, this is Peter Thiel, this is this organization who has also deployed artificial intelligence into the world. So make no mistake, though, that what it is really a wrestle for world domination, where one dominator doesn't really have the ability and the attraction to keep the subjects, if you may, as long as you choose to become that instead of a sovereign, entertained. Just like in Roman days, like where's the gladiator? You know, where's the Parthenon? Where's the entertainment? And how is that being consumed on a mass scale? So this new flip of the switch where money is really out in front of everybody. First, there's a desire to want money. That's capitalism. That's the Rockefellers' groundwork, capitalism. Now that we have pretty much 70% of the world, at least in capitalism, now what is necessary is to dwarf that is to bring like an ultimate form of capitalism. This is what you saw with Robinhood, the app, bringing the ability to do what it feels like only white collar workers can do, or I don't know, execs can do, go and buy stocks and bonds. Now, you and I know that to buy stocks and bonds is not that mystical or not that difficult to do. It just has an air about it that if you buy stocks and bonds, you got to be like you're on Wall Street. You need a lot of money. So it has this almost like this falsified knowledge of it that protects it. So then even when Robinhood came along and said, hey, this is investing for the little guy, they were still probably sitting on the backbone of the same TD Ameritrades and E-Trades and all those codes that just allow you to be able to do that. So we see a pattern here. Something is presented as being very complex and only for one specific demographic. And then people observe it and then miss out on it because they feel like that they're not a part of it until someone builds something that allows it to become user friendly, as we would say, to what the average man can do. Now, once again, if you're still trying to hit the bar up really high on your finances, you're not even in the average man or woman category in the first place. So you're well above average. So you have to be on point with everything how you're diving into stuff, because also you don't have a huge Merrill Lynch structure behind you, where at least $2 to $3 million went on the business plan. We ain't even started business yet. There's businesses that have $2-3 million business plans, and the business plan is worth that much, let alone deploying the company. And so if you don't have that kind of fortification behind you, that means that you have to also use the ability of your nimbleness then. This means like a huge, big, giant destroyer craft is going to have a hard time turning around versus a really sleek runabout will flip over and hit that big juggernaut several times, dodge the guns and all of that before it even has a time to react. So you have to benefit on stuff like that. You have to look at yourself and say, well, shoot, I'm not even as smart as that. That's what you may say to yourself. I'm not even as smart as that. You don't have to be. You just have to have the strategy down. And once you get your strategy together, you shouldn't deviate from the strategy. And this is where that's the part of this that you will have to gain over time, is actually not wavering, being sure about what you're doing, sticking to your strategy, and then whatever you see, you just wait for the next milestone in your strategy to then change. Because even the fact that we have a new moon and a full moon, and that your body is made 70% water, you will always change your mind by the end of the cycle anyway. You would literally go through the process where you would fill up and then you would drain. And what happens with that mentally is that you feel like you're gung-ho about something, and then if you don't complete it before a certain time, almost like a plant growing, it then has to be torn down and cut up. So you could literally be like knowing what your strategy is, seeing your strategy working a little bit, but then something happened, like your mind changed or the chart changed, and then you go change your strategy. And then once you change it, then you're like, man, this is really messed up. And you go and change it back. And then now you're off your strategy. So this is why we say you should never really invest more money than you would intend to be able to lose. That is the difference between a gambler and a person who's about this financial life. Because when you put in more money than you're willing to lose, now you're energetically tied into the chart. This is also why we created WealthyBot, to cease the connection between a red and a green line. You get up early in the morning, you look at that thing, it's looking good. You singing, you go and kiss your wife or your significant other. Hey, baby. They're like, damn, what's up with him today? We all the way up, right? And then when that thing starts turning red, you're in an argument now. Now it's the pressure coming down on you. Now it's nobody wants to help you and the world's against you. You see what I mean? So don't get tied into the charts. Like in 2017, I got wrecked. I learned my lesson the hard way. And it was great that I didn't put more in than I was willing to lose, but I don't think I lose very well either. That's another reason why I don't gamble. It's like the winning for gambling, it's all good, but the losing for me is horrendous. So since I don't feel the same amount of energy when I win than when I lose, I don't like gambling. So for the record, remember, WealthyBot is not gambling. It's playing a numbers game. WealthyBot can beat the house over a period of time because what's the house? The exchange. It's funny because people think that they password protect their data on their computer, but their data is somewhere else. Does that make any sense? Like your data actually in the cloud stuff and all that stuff, that's somewhere else. And your password's over here. And you're just convinced that because you have the password that nobody can see it, even though it's over there. So in a company, there's privacies around that. So you could see it, especially if you're updating data and things like that, but it can't be available to the public. So with an exchange, they see all of the positions. They see who's holding the most. They got everything, but see, it's not they. Some people are like, you can't expect there to be like some Chinese people back there or, some Israelis, right? Because they're really good at numbers. They're just back there just trying to go through every single account. No, it's AI. Those exchanges already had enough money to, if not were the creators of some of this, but they had enough money to deploy AI inside of their exchange. And then what the exchange becomes is like the biggest casino. And so even when there are, let's say, 60% of the positions that are ready to break down, and they have a record of breaking down, with the market as sensitive as cryptocurrency, it can always be said, well, some news came out. Bill Gates said that he didn't find Bitcoin that was very entertaining, should be very entertaining to anybody broke. Unless you have as much money as Elon Musk, then you maybe want to stay away from this. Then we get this huge drop. That's not what's causing the drop. What's causing the drop is still a lot of these positions are actually held by either bots or entire hedge funds, et cetera, that also are moving into this space and doing certain things in this space. So this means, again, that you would have to play a numbers game then, because this is like when if you walk into the casino and the casino's not necessarily cheating, the house is not necessarily cheating, it just knows that the odds in the game are not stacked in your favor necessarily. And so how the system works, to make it very simple, is over a period. For some of us, this happens a lot faster. For others, it's sometimes a grinding process up to the top. But you're actually able to, at a certain point, accrue the same amount that you invested. So this means that you put $10,000 in, it becomes $10,000 at a certain point. Our last test, because there was a question about this, our last test was it took a trader 5 months to do that. And that was before the bull market. Once the bull market started, it was impossible to track. Some people were doing that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some people, it was 2 months. I think bull runs last about 2 months, right? So this means that when we tested and we had live simulators running to what could be accrued and to get an ROI, our ROI was at 5 months. Now, traditional investor, let's understand this. This whole put in $10 and get back $1 million aspect to cryptocurrency is not healthy. You have to first start off with the basis of a traditional investor. These are people who, when they're finally older, they retire and they're lucrative. They have properties all over the place, et cetera, et cetera. Their business ventures before something like cryptocurrency came along came into around 3 to 5% profit over 5 years. Let me say that again. This means that if they invested in something, they expected to get back 3 to 5% over what they invested, cleared, and they would give that 3 to 5 years to come around. Could you imagine that? That definitely became prehistoric. You couldn't even entertain me with something like that. I'd be like, yo, give me my money, man. Like, I got other stuff that I can do. That's way too slow. But it's important to know the old schoolers, the ones that still have all the money, that's the principles that they were working on. So then from there, you can then get a little bit more spoiled, but not go overboard to where you're expecting 5,000-6,000% in profit, et cetera, because what that creates a gambler. That kind of mentality, you won't be able to make certain moves when you need to make because you'll be expecting stuff to go all over the place and then nothing will happen. Think about if you're looking at this drop. We can't predict the future, but when we saw Bitcoin going all the way up, and I think it touched 40,000, right? And then it dropped to 30. Where was everybody at then? And the chat was silent. You just see, it's like crickets. Nobody's buying the dip. You watch the credit calculator thing, it just stops. It's like a flat line. Nobody's buying the dip. I'm not telling you to buy the dip. I'm just saying I still see the mentality. And then as that thing start coming back, people start coming in around 37, 38. It's like, what are we doing? What do we teach? Teach yourself. So again, that's why you want a strategy in place, because you're not really concerned about what the number says. You're concerned about the pattern. And when you see the pattern, it's like, imagine you're climbing up a wall, okay? Bitcoin is this wall. You're climbing up this mountain. Now, if you notice what a mountain climber does is a mountain climber will stick they got a special name for it, I'm sure, but he sticks the thing into the mountain in order to hold the position that he's got to right then, right? And he keeps climbing. This is the biggest analogy that you need to realize when you see like, oh, shoot, I got positions that came in at 56 and we all the way down here. Oh, man, it's all over. My $20. Because, man, the craziest people that we have in the platform seriously have about $20 in the platform. So it's wild. But, hey, we deal with it. So what happens is when we start sliding down the mountain, just like if you lose your first rigging, you start falling, that next one going to catch you, pip, right? And you may rip that one too, pip, 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 pip. But it's breaking the fall. And then what happens is eventually you get the one that you put in that holds because of the breaking of the fall. That's what really happens when charts go up and down. That's how investors work. It's like a wave. It's not supposed to get all of the money back at 50,000 because you got all of the positions there. It's supposed to drip on the way down. And then when you start popping those positions, you're popping them in a wave, not all at one time, but in a wave. And then there's this wave going back and forth, especially with a market that still has a $7 trillion assessment. You know that this is the way you want to go. It's like you come up, then you come back because healthy correction. Because the thing is, if we go parabolic, anyway, most of your traders won't really close, especially if they're on wealthy bot strategy. Up and down will close, but parabolic means that it's just going straight up. We get no wiggle lines in there. And when that occurs, it becomes very difficult for our mountain climber to actually take a stake in. So again, this is things that you should understand about how this functions so that you also understand what you're doing. So when your monkey mind gets the best of you and it's like, yo, we need to pull it all out now. I told you, you got to first say, well, first of all, we didn't invest more than we were willing to lose. And then I trust that you'll get very soon to one day where you'll just say, and also remember, we're only playing with profits right now. Unless again, like, sometimes, that gambler mentality is like, I want it all on number 4. This kind of behavior, right? Where the profits are there, meaning that it's up to you to take profits because we know that this works better when it keeps reinvesting the profits until you say, hey, I'm good. We have another thing that I put inside of Intercom so it pops up for you. I think that's after like your 4th visit. But it talks about very briefly about selling into the wind. And what this means is that when you need to sometimes shift your waves, right? If you're always like, especially if you just come in, you came in on a height, then we have a drop, all your positions are up there, and then you're just like, you have no USDT left, and then you're just waiting for those positions to pop. This means you need to kind of get in on the other shift of it, right? Like on the other side of it where we're going up, you're popping positions, and then it's coming back down, and you're gaining more positions, and it's doing that. So that's almost like the input, the on or the off of a trader. So you're working to strategically place yourself or place all your positions at that point. So to do that, I won't say in a very simple way, but a very precise way is to sell into the storm. This is what we call it. So when a bull run is happening, that would be the storm. And generally when that's happening, people are just like, yo, my positions are going higher and higher and higher. I'm collecting more and more profits. But you can easily say, let me close all of these positions. Why this is going into this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the dip. Now, I kid you not. This bull run was so strong, I had turned my traders off on one sample at 40,000. I had already seen the floor was 42,000. So I sold into the win as we were coming out of that 31. Remember, we hit that 31. And then we started popping back up through all of those positions. And when all that started happening, right when I started selling into the storm at 42, because that was the last high. And I closed all of my traders on that build. All profits sitting there, just USDT, bam. And I waited for a drop. It didn't come. 1 week, it didn't come. We just kept going parabolic. Another week, it didn't come. It didn't come until right now. Now, of course, I turned back on that trader, and what happened? You see what I mean? So even the best are going to have to keep going through that same process. Now, I did make some money on the process, but I kind of took my traders off that one trader off its yin yang flow. Now he's clawing his way down. No, what's gonna happen? Well, you should see my email box. It's like nah, and then really again, it's putting it in there because what's gonna happen here in a moment? Well, we don't know. That's what the key to this is. Don't play like you know something and you don't know. That lets you understand why Wealthy Bot is taking profits, because still over time, pound for pound, you're going to win more than you lose. Before we deployed Wealthy Bot to the public, Wealthy Bot was tested in Germany on a downturn market. And after a year, still came out with profits. That was when, everybody was getting wrecked. So what more can it do in this? Well, I'm sure many here can see. Now, we're not here to bring forth like an MLM, our highest ranked money maker. For anybody who's been in the system for 3 months, you know where your profits are at. Also, anybody who has ran a sim for 3 months. This is another thing, because I know someone asked in their question, do we have like basically strategies or actual trader settings that are the best optimizations that other people can use that come into the platform? And I'm going to tell you why we don't have that, because that actually can cause more problems than it actually causes benefits. Because what? Past results are not indicative of future results. Somebody else setting their trader a certain kind of way beyond default, we made it way more simple than that, to where you don't actually have to have all these different options. And we also educate you about the simple things that you can do to kind of super tune the trader. However, the process here is going to work whether you're actually doing that or not. It's going to pull back and it's going to come back forward. So masterclass is more about, or what we're saying today is I guess we'll call it the masterclass. Our masterclass is more of like how to make certain adjustments to be able to allow you to benefit the most from what this software can actually do. So let me start breezing through this, because I think I got enough of the essence of what this is about and why we're gung-ho about this, why we created this, why it's been deployed to you. This is a cosmic vision. I always believe that we need some assistance as much as possible. So if someone makes themselves a conduit of that assistance, then they can create amazing things. We have amazing developers that are on our team and constantly creating and updating the instances in order for there to be more refinement, more precision. And then, of course, we have our support department. We have Sean on the line tonight or today. He takes a bulk of your messages. I know you've seen me in there also handling things. So you have us here in support. We have Elena. I mean, come on, man. Y'all know Elena, right? I be seeing some message. I be like, poor Elena, man. Let me send her some love over there. She's like, Elena, blah, blah, blah. I DM'd you. And, just to have the heart to keep assisting others as much as possible, even when it's working for you. And it's just incredible. So just understand that what we're doing here is like, we're defeating the odds, literally. Generally, you go into a place, it's a scam. Something's going on. Everybody's like, yo, sign me up. And right now, WealthyBot doesn't even have the affiliation thing yet, which we'll talk about later. It is coming, but it's not a high-pressured sale. Hey, come and do this. It's, hey, you could go and test it for yourself, and then you'll see what it makes. But it is still fintech. It is still cryptocurrency. So you will find you need to be educated a little bit more about the space. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So the first thing is so remember, we just went basically from 15,000 to 50,000, and we only took 2 breaths. The other one was started day before yesterday. So technically 1 breath. They may be some that just came in. So you may have came in right when the breath was taken, just your luck, right? Hey, I got luck like that. I use brute force, meaning that sometimes some of us are not the luckiest people, but if you keep trying, it'll eventually work out for you. Versus I've seen some lucky duckies, boy, like, because I get a chance to see everybody that comes in, man. I see a lucky ducky come in, and man, God must be with them, as they say, because man, they'll come right in and boom. And they'll start off with the whole thing flowing the right way. So, you know, some people just got that, but others don't, clearly. However, because this has been now a year and a half of this running, there are many of our veterans in the system, if you may, that from that they came from that 15,000 to this 50. I'd be going, and sometimes some people count, they be having like 30 traders running. I'm not sure what kind of investment capital they're working with, but they be getting to it. Okay. So this is like a breathing out period for us right now, because there's been a lot of breathing in. 15 to 50,000, it just happened. It's a big benefit for us to say that we had our system online and already at least 1,000 people somewhere in there, at least running sims when we were at 15. So WealthyBot did not come online at 50,000 or 30,000 or any of those points. So that means that people already in the system have already done really well and have started that process of now just investing profits, just investing profits. So the next thing about this is so remember about what we're just calling at this point skin in the game. We called it the climber. This is the person who is like coming in and at different positions and riding it all the way down. There's another term would be skin in the game. Like how much do you have in each of these different positions that when this thing starts making its forward and backward movements, that you're able to actually benefit from those processes of the flow. Also realize, lastly, even though I explained to you exactly how to look at this and how to disarm your monkey mind about thinking that it's all over, adoption is here. Okay? And it has not gone anywhere, meaning that all of that money that those hedge funds have put in on Bitcoin, those wallets, you know what? I'm going to task someone here today with something just to see who's really about this life. The whale wallets, most of the whale wallets are known, okay? Because you got people who look at the blockchain, just the codes all day. So they've been able to identify what are the wallets that the Bitcoin is moving through the most. And we're talking about like wallets with 6,000, 7,000 Bitcoin, et cetera, even higher. And these are on the internet somewhere. I think Reddit is probably a good place to start. Send those to us because the way it's not illegal to monitor another wallet. But when you already see, I don't know, what was the name? It's on the tip of my tongue. Is it Mainframe? Grayscale. Okay, so you see Grayscale put in X billion dollars, right? Grayscale's wallet is public. The wallet address is public, and you can go in eXplorer and still see the money there. So what I'm saying is when you start feeling like from the FUD, which is Bill Gates said don't have this, or hey, SEC is going to do this, and it drops, you should consult your whale wallets to really determine if we're dealing with a real drop or if we're dealing with just what I call the chum. Okay? It's important I explain to you the chum. So of course, in fishing, the chum is obviously the little piece of fishes and stuff, the blood, the head and all that, and it gets the sharks all excited. Okay? Now, what the chum is a person just coming into the market. They don't even know that day trading and all that is a real skill. They think that that's something that maybe you teach yourself or a guy does it from TV. So they come in, they think that they can do it. And just like in a casino, they start winning a little bit. So they put in a little bit more, way more than they can actually afford to lose. And then it pulls back and it takes all of their money. That's the chum. Okay? So when you have $400 billion, like what just happened right now, $400 billion was removed from the market, that's none of the money really of any of the people that have been in the system since at 35,000. That's all the new money. And it's not even all of it. It's a small fraction of it, actually. So just be aware that if you want to really learn this, it's also about learning numbers. And when you see, okay, $400 billion, which is seeming somehow to make up about 18% of the market cap, I got positioned to say negative 23%. What's happening? Are we in a crash? That's only a little bit of the chum being removed because so many people have come into the market over this last process. Now it needs to kind of settle down and we need to establish a new floor. Now, all the big investors need to know where the floor is. We wrote you that recommendation about how to work with that and how to begin to know where a floor is over a past experience with the coin. But they need that because they got to fill in certain paperwork. They got to fill in certain tickers. There's real data that they actually need. So if they need a floor to be established, if we've been going on parabolic, there's going to be some kind of drop. So now at a certain point, especially if you've sold into the wind, you just got to be patient. You know the drop is coming. And then when the drop happens, you can't be sitting there like, well, maybe it's going to keep going down. Because you'll be playing around in that, it went to 3,200, and then it went to 4,000, it went to 3,200. This is what happens. Okay, man, it's going down. Remember, we went down before. It went down to 30,000, right? We saw it hang at 30,000 for 2 days. At that point, remember, you're not trying to catch 30,000. You're clawing all the way down. You're putting in positions. The bot will do that. It'll take positions all the way down. Some people, you don't know really where the floor is. You're not necessarily, you're trying to establish it, but you don't know really where it is. We found out the floor was at 30,000. It stayed there for 2 days. And then anybody that was trying to catch it from there, like once it started going 32, it kind of got tricky because then it went back to 31. Now remember, this is AI doing this. Who can sell some stuff right? Okay. Has anybody here already experienced, you've been holding on to this thing and knowing this thing gonna deliver, and then the day the monkey finally gets to you and it's like, yo, sell this position while we can. Even if it's this loss, let's pay rent. And you sell this position and I'll be damned, the thing go up about a few hours later. How? Now, maybe you've never been trading on the charts, but anybody that has been trading on charts, or really sometimes a lot of things in life, the moment that you are out, like, yo, I think all is lost, boom. Doesn't it make you feel horrible though? Like, it's like, what am I doing? I'm not holding to my principles. So remember that this is why we have at least the robot doing most of the job, because the robots, they don't really have emotions. They're just going to do what they're told to do. But for you, you got to actually allow it to work and for it to do its thing in order for you to be able to play the numbers game so that you win more often than you lose. So strategies for crypto. As we come into some finalizations here, I'm going to answer a couple questions. Then I'm going to take some questions from the chat. A 70-30 strategy is also cool. I've seen some people ask, well, shoot, this is always the jazzy person. Well, shoot, I don't understand what's so big about WealthyBot. After all, I could have just bought Bitcoin. I could have just bought Bitcoin and held it and made as much money as WealthyBot had made. Foolish words. First of all, WealthyBot is making money when it's doing this. And it's going to do this a lot of times before it finally finds that new high that you were supposedly saying is going to be where the profit's going to come from. Because you wouldn't know because you haven't taken profits yet. And that's just the whole thing with this, that just like we went up all the way to 50 and then now we're back to 49. If the person never took profits, that all happened and they're just here still holding on for dear life, the hodl. Versus a WealthyBot user has already made several turns in profit by the time and still has that same money back. Probably has a little bit of your money too. Yeah, hey, it's just a bot. It's just going to buy and sell. You may have been over there paranoid and one of our bots picked up the rest of what you dropped off. That's what happens. And also, you can never beat a bot. Bots are too fast. They close positions without thinking about whether they should be closed or not. Should I close this at 1.8%? You know how you be hovering over that? If you're in your account right now hovering over your settings, stop. That's not what we taught you in the master class. Like, you over there like ready to sell that position because it's in the green. Just remember, it's a long-term thing. The big timers wait 3 years. Here's another story for you. When we got to the top of the charts, I believe it was 2018, Bitcoin was about to hit 20,000, right? The craze was ridiculous. The Wolf on Wall Street was playing on spin on the Pirate Bay. Everybody thought they were an investor. Some people got the bright idea to remortgage the home. Shit, we can get the money from somewhere. The percentage of the home is only 4%. If I can make 5, see, these are still numbers people. They're mathematical people. See, I kind of flunked out of math. I don't know if that's my benefit or not, but they were mathematical. They were like, shoot, well, if the interest on the house is only 3% and then Bitcoin will make me 25%, then I can easily remortgage the house, get that money, put it in Bitcoin, come back around and there were a lot of people who mortgaged their homes and bought Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went back down to $5,000. Diamond Hands was broke. 10 months later, it 2x'd and a half that. So 10 months later, after we went to $5,000. So that's why now it's just like, again, I don't have more money in the market than I'm willing to lose, but I don't care what really happens to Bitcoin. I'm just going to wait and see how I can take profits again. Because I just saw in a pattern, it go all the way down to $5,000 and then go back to $50,000. And imagine that guy or woman that mortgaged the house, not only would they have recovered their initial profit, they would have doubled it by just knowing how to stick to the plan. But I'm sure when that thing dropped around $8,000, the wife was like, sell it now. Sell it now for me and Jane and the rest of the kids. I told you this wasn't going to work, because, wifey be going in hard like, sell it and so we don't lose everything, Ted. And it was one of those. And now I'm sure that family is broke up right now. That's why I say don't get your feelings in the charge, because when this thing went back to 50, then what he going to do? Just like all men do. See, I told you, y'all holding me back. Right? So this is why, again, that whole emotional investment in this ain't really, investment in this is not what you want. I know everything about how this works. And I know all types of different ways to make money in it. The mining of small coins, the airdrops, I don't deal with none of that stuff. Not because I don't know how to do it, but because it starts causing issues in your life if you're that tuned into it, okay? So I'm going to answer a couple questions here. So I meant to say that the 70-30 that's the strategy per se that I'm using now. 70% wealthy bot, 30% I'm holding something, okay? Now, what I choose to hold genuinely will be projects that I already know are going to win, right? So it takes me a lot to fully confirm that a project is going to win. We knew Polkadot was going to be a winner. We knew XLM is and still remains as a winner. We knew ADA was going to be a winner. This is like if you go back to the old cryptocurrency recordings that we have inside of the university, it's just because the teams were certain things, like the teams of ADA is robust. There's guys in there that won the Nobel Peace Prize for encryption on ADA. So if anybody survives in the game, it will be them. Not to mention they have a numerous amount of coins. So that means that the actual worth of ADA as a company is massive. So you got all these intelligent people and all of this money. That's a perfect equation for success, right? So that's what I look at in a project. I'm not into these, Uniswap pump and dump kind of things because, it has a tendency to get you in the long run. However, there are projects such as HNT, Helium token, which I think is actually now, like all the money that was in Helium token is now, it's there now. I think the top a Helium token can do right now is $6. I think that it will go to Coinbase eventually. I think that, but I know that Helium is owned by the same people that own PayPal and own many of the other organizations that were so instrumental in people onboarding to cryptocurrency. It is their only token that has not went to Coinbase yet. Numerary went to Coinbase. Rep Augur went to Coinbase. That's all of their token. These are also the people that own Facebook. These are also the people that own Ethereum. And finally, HNT basically it's deployed now. It's like a lo-fi, so it's not 5G. 5G could be considered hi-fi. It's a lo-fi broadcaster for autonomous devices. So this means that smart cities that are wired up with those delivery carts and things like that, they can use the Helium network to deliver products from one place to another. So this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for personally to determine what's going to pop. Now, because I'm so far out of that space of like figuring out my 30% portfolio, because I've done that already, Obviously, a lot of new projects have kind of blown right by. I have not chose to jump in those new projects because I don't know anything about them. Even though I'll hear like, yo, Polkadot, if I don't have enough time to understand what Polkadot is going to do, I'm not just basing what Polkadot's about from the charts. I will also recommend Ian Bellina. Diary of a Made Man on the YouTube. I still rock with the boss, just because he's got a Brandon Kelly, just because he has a big heart. And I believe that many people figured out what was going on in the space because of him. So I'll always give him his props for that. But Ian Bellina, because I already knew Ian had already made millions of dollars. Ian's sitting on millions of dollars right now. He got in on ICOs before we had even heard about those ICOs, and those ICOs went nuts. And he was already disciplined and knew how to take his profits. And then he also knew that if we were going to come back around again for growth in this space, that instead of him investing in the charts, that he should also consider trying to be a part of how to make money in the space, which is the final part of our conversation today about like changing up certain strategies with your business if you're an entrepreneur, et cetera. But he created a site, I think it's called Token Metrics. That was a term that he coined about analyzing coins. They say they have AI over there, but don't we all say we have AI? So, it's like there's a difference between the AI that comes in on the front of the web page versus the AI that's the one that has a big price tag to it. But anyway, they say they have AI and they do a whole checklist of analysis on different coins. And I can definitely say because he's been in the game so long, he knows what he's talking about. So you can check him out if you just want to learn more about the 30% of the portfolio and where may be a good idea in order to accrue that. Because then you got the best of both worlds. You have 70% of your capital actually making money at all times. And then you got 30% of the capital waiting for the lottery, waiting for that thing to hit what number you should set in order to be able to take profits. So for me in H&T, I came in at 90 cents. Look at the chart. That 90 cent was, even when the whole bull run was happening, H&T went nowhere. Monkey came in on me again. Hey, why don't we liquidate those H&T positions? It's pretty much right at what you put in on the investment. Everything is moving, not H&T. And I'll be like, get behind me, Satan. I cannot. Diamond hands cannot listen to you, meaning that I didn't move the position. Then the thing went up to $5. That's still not $6. It went back down to $4. I don't care who's watching. Holla at me when it gets to Coinbase, and then we done. We done here. You see what I mean? So that's how you should be handling your 30% portfolio, is that kind of strategy, right? So the question here is, do we have a log history of successful optimizations? And so I explained that earlier about, so somebody else, now some of our default settings go around something like this. We set traders to 2.1%. It was 1.8, but somebody said 2.1 is a bit more nicer, so we made that change. Our goal is micro profits. You set that thing to 5%, you may, especially on a wealthy bot setting, like you got to get a whole moving average. I think it was like 150 slots or something like that the scripts need to do to collect a certain amount of data. And so if you got this huge profit swing, it's taking forever to collect that data. So we do recommend these lower percentages, because like 2.1, because especially on a wealthy bot strategy, because it's going to try to get a little bit more of that, but it is still going to put some money in your pocket. Sometimes if we're going parabolic, you may find that it will go up and you'd be like, yo, it's at 5% profit, and now it's at 3% negative. Why didn't Wealthy Bot close the position on the Wealthy Bot strategy? Moving averages. Still pound for pound, what this algorithm is seeing is that, yeah, it's going down to 3%, but it's about to come up again based on its moving average. I don't care if it goes down to 2%. That's kind of 2 or 3% lower than that 5% that I could have took. I'm going to wait. It's kind of saying that in the script. And the longer a trader lives, the more smarter it becomes. So this is why we try not to delete traders, because they have their own unique instance and they collect their own data to understand the market from the time that they came into the market. Okay? So some of the other settings are, We talked about the floor. I'm not gonna elaborate on that in detail today, but it's establishing a floor within a coin, because the reason why we don't have all of the coins that have USDT pairs, which are a lot of them, inside of WealthyBot, is because having a bunch of coins doesn't necessarily make sense to us. I think we have now bought in, and if it's not updated, it will be here in a moment, but we bought ADA, of course, and we bought XLM. What we're looking for is volume and a little bit of volatility. We're not really looking at, is this a good plan? Is this a good, profit margin on this? I put in H&T because of my love of H&T and knowing what H&T will eventually do. Is H&T the greatest high-frequency trading coin? No. So that's why some with H&T traders complain that, man, it seems like the H&T trader is not taking positions and the Bitcoin trader is taking all the positions. It's because H&T is not showing the trader that, hey, it's a good time to get in because it has less volatility. So in that respect, what you can also do, as you see as an option inside of your traders, you have the ability to select how many positions any trader will take. So this means that if you set the trader to something maybe conservative, like 2 or 3 positions, then it's going to leave more room for other traders to take positions. Now, again, we're just giving you these pointers. I may actually even open up this here on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. But we're giving you these pointers, and this is super tuning the trader. It will work by itself without you doing any of this, and you just using what would be the default settings inside of there, which I think is 1.8%. You select your coin, you hit start, you're ready to go. So if you're hearing all this stuff today and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm doing my whole thing wrong, that's why I'm losing money, or that's why it's in the negative, or no, that's not what's going on. What's going on is what we talked about earlier. What this is about is if you want to start super tuning your positions, you have the ability to do that. So let me just show this really briefly here, so that way it's on camera that I'm showing inside the software, because we're, of course, going to upload this. I have a high-quality recording for those that need to go over this later, or maybe you want to show it to some of your friends. You will be able to. So give me just a quick second. Let me fix the input here. All right, here we go. And it is this monitor. Boom. Okay. Let me blow this up real quick. Okay, and then let me get me in here. All right. Oops. Okay. Next, let me get into the corner over here. Okay, so as you can see, so this is the live trader that is functioning. So on this setting of Bitcoin, it has a maximum of 4 concurrent positions right now, because it could go a bit nuts. But I have in this build, I think 2 Bitcoins running. Right, here's another one. And they're just set to 2 different strategies. So I have an up and down strategy, and I have a WealthyBot strategy running, okay? And so these are conservative settings. I have not, there's not that many settings. That's what I was saying is the benefit of this, because, yeah, there are some other softwares out there, and you go in there, and it's like they kind of, I always make a joke, they kind of did what I did sometimes at Secret Energy. I feel like the more features we have, the more everybody loves. But the reality is sometimes if people come in and they just get confused with how the features, they don't even understand what they're supposed to be doing, and it means kind of like they don't use it. But if Secret Energy was just come and listen to 3-minute mindful audios a day, boy, we'd be booming. Because then it's like people know they're coming in there to get 3 minutes of mindful audios. But because it does even all of this, it has these cryptocurrency traders, it's a bit more for people to try to understand what to do. So let's remember that, and then understand this is why we only have a few settings here, but they're definitely the settings that you need, right? So what is here? First of all, as we mentioned, we have high volume coins. What's up here? Hold on a second. What's up? Okay, there I go. Oh, shit, I guess I could only do that in the beginning. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I tried to do something. I tried to mess up something, but it won't let me. That means I was going to try to change the marketing strategy, which doesn't happen, right? Once you select the marketing strategy, that's what it is. So you have stop purchase above a certain rate, as we know. And what this does is it says, look, I see Bitcoin is running off and somebody's going to get stuck out in the cold. I'm selling into the storm and I'm going to stop purchases at, and then you'll say something like when all the craziness is going on, you may say, I know 54,000. So this is literally telling the trader, hey, once Bitcoin gets above 54,000, do not buy anything. Now, we do not use stop loss, okay? And there is a reason. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get a message about stop loss from geniuses that insist that stop loss will be the savior for the entire system. And no, it won't. It won't allow you to claw in enough positions. It will not allow you to win the math game. It will close the position in loss. And by the time you come back around to gain, it has to try to open new positions. And then when it pops those positions, it's only recovering what you just stop lost. So that's another thing in a lot of these software. They got the stop loss feature as the first setting, and the stop loss feature is exactly the setting that over time you may win in a bull run, but you're not going to win over time. We use stop purchase because you can healthily establish a floor. In something that is this volatile, it's difficult to set a stop loss. It will shake you out of positions. Why? What did we say? The exchange is the casino. So they see all the stop losses. So they just shake you out of the stop loss, take your 6 or 7%, and then come back around again. And then by the time you log in the morning with your coffee, Bitcoin then gone down and went back up, shook your stop loss, took you off of 6%, and then now got you sitting and wondering if you want to reinvest. This is why we don't use stop loss, but stop purchase, because I was like, hey, we selling in the win, but after 54,000, I'm good. And you got to learn to be that guy. Like, I don't know, I think I almost got killed one time doing this, but I jumped into a craps game. This was before I learned that I hate to lose. Well, I was rolling, man. Something was happening that day. I guess the lucky number 7 was hitting. So I hit it like 3 times, right? And these cats was mad. Like, I didn't even know anything about these guys. I knew one guy, but the rest of them, they seemed to be real gangsters. So once I had won 3 times, well, this is good for me. Like, I'm already thinking about a couple PlayStation games I'm about to buy and a few other things. And so I promptly about to walk off with the money. And they were like, man, you got to keep playing. And that's the whole thing about this, is that you got to realize very, very clearly that you can't play games if you're trying to sell into the storm. Close all your positions and wait on the dip. It's okay to pull off the table. You ain't going to get none of these people from Binance showing up at your door saying, hey, you need to come back into the game. So that's how you would do that. You establish your floor, hit the stop purchase, and then boom. And remember, this is super tuning. This is now somebody who wants to play around with this.
Welcome to WealthyBot, the simple automated cryptocurrency trader. This is Julie. She wants to build a wealth stream from the trillions now flowing through the cryptocurrency markets. Her issue is onboarding and learning about cryptocurrency is too complex, and she doesn't feel comfortable with investing. That's where WealthyBot comes in. We offer extensive live support and tutorials on how to purchase cryptocurrency, set up your exchange, and connect WealthyBot to do the automated trading for you. The system then collects and reinvests profits until you are ready to withdraw. It's that simple. The best part is you can try our simulator for free and see what profit you will be making before you invest real capital. There are other bots out there, but they are generally complex and offer little to no support. WealthyBot is easy and has lots of friendly support. There are thousands already using WealthyBot, and our support team along with real users can help you get started today. Now you can enjoy automated wealth and make money while you sleep or at the beach. Get started with WealthyBot today and let it work for you by going to wealthybot.io.
The next thing is the enable average purchase amount. Obviously, WealthyBot works with the percentile margin. It will not invest all of your money all at once. It will take multiple positions, especially with the fluctuations of the chart. But if you go set 100 traders now, you are telling this thing all the time, buy. So it's easier for this thing to manage. Like, you see how many traders that are on this account? It's about seven of them. And they're only split between strategies. I go into account sometime doing some troubleshooting. It's like 40 or 50 open. And so just remember that the more that with your investment capital, you got $1 million in there. That's a whole other thing. But with your investment capital, you may choose to break your investment capital into a certain percentage. Let's say divide it by 12. Let's say you have $1,000. You may say, hey, open, excuse me, that's maximum open. The average purchase amount, set this average purchase amount to $100. Because what happens is that because we're basically using a algorithm for the investment, it's going to go right away with 18% of the profit. That may seem like a larger chunk, and then it's going to dwindle down from there. Or for some, that may not seem enough. So the minimum here is $50. We need to get a little bit of a little indicator here. If you have less than that in your exchange, you just need to uncheck this, and it's going to just use those lesser increments. Some people were asking the other day, it's like, it's set to $50, but I only have $50 in the exchange. And it's like, there are some minimums, but it will use those minimums if you uncheck it. But once you check it and then you put a number here, that number is going to have to be higher than $50. And then what you're saying is every position that you come in at this amount. That could be very useful on a bull run where you're like, yo, come in at 500 each time. Like all numbers on number 2, all of it on number 4. You know, that's if you're trying to aggressively get to the point of reaching your profit margin, right? Lastly here, enable maximum. Oh, excuse me. I'm not even open. I'm not even on the window. Somebody's in the chat like, yo, you can't see it. Excuse me. Enable average purchase amount is here, right? And then enable maximum open positions. Look, greedy trader. You know, only eat 4 bites and we done. Because you notice like some of them traders, they just bite off way more than they can chew. It depends on what the age is on the trader. So this is how you get all that under control. And that's it as far as settings are concerned here. Okay, now we have one more setting. And I think I need to move my screen out of the way real quick because the last time I did this, I had to reset my APIs. And I got too much to do today to do that. So give me one quick second. And let me just open this window up. Exchange, and I just want to show that exchange that setting that allows you to take profits. And let me see how I'm going to be able to do this. Okay, I know how to do this. Let me just take a screen capture of it real quick, and then let me just X out the API keys. I don't even know how much a person could do with API keys. I actually think not that much, but you never know. You just never know these days. Also, backup methods. If you have questions about keeping your cryptocurrency, the Ledger X, I believe it is. It's the one that it has a digital screen on it, and it has I guess they both have a digital screen and have two buttons. I think it's the Ledger X. Let me look at this. Because they're virtually the same with both of them, except for one is a newer version, and this thing. Yeah, it's not the X. It's the S. Okay? Wait, let me make sure. Let me go here real quick. Okay, no, it's the X. Okay, so the Ledger Nano X. I'll leave the link here. For those that plan on being in this for a while and you're like, what is the best of the best? And allowing me to be able to navigate with my cryptos, right? It's definitely, let me see. Did I put it here? I thought I just copied that in there. One second. Copy. Paste. What makes this thing so dope is that it's an app for the phone. They have an app for the phone and they have a Bluetooth thing. So first of all, remember, this is kind of like a safe. Let me get my picture up here. This is kind of like a safe in the respect to you put your key, I put my key in, right? Like having a Nano X gives you an additional layer of protection for your cryptos from stuff that just happens on a random level in the world. Like one, you lose something, or two, your girlfriend runs off with it. Or something like that. Okay, so you got 2 layers of protection with this, and it seems to kind of try to at least prevent one of those from being a career ender for you and your cryptos. So the first one is obviously you get this phrase when you first get your Nano. That's the 12 or 24 words, and then you're able to store that on a card, and then that card is anywhere. That card is as good as all of your money in that ledger. Okay? So if for some reason this thing falls in the sink and doesn't work, if you have that card, you have still your money. Also, anybody else having that card has your money too. So this is why it's a written thing. You don't do anything, put it on the computer nowhere. You go bury it somewhere else, and you only need it if you lose your ledger. You don't need it any other time. I'll say again, this is why it's more convenient, because you don't have to keep this thing at your house. You don't have to keep it nowhere around you. You can go hide it off in the park under somewhere where nobody's ever going to get to it, and you're never going to need it either unless you lose your ledger. Now, on another level, the ledger has a passcode also. And so if somebody just picks up your ledger, they can't get into it anyway because they need the passcode. And now with that passcode, since you have that passcode protection, this keeps someone, again, from going right into your ledger and trying to mess around with your funds or see your funds or anything. And then now that extra level protection is that if someone, you can have, this is what I like about Ledger, is that they have a very polished software. I think it's called Ledger Live. And it could be on your phone and it can be on your computer. And you could always go in and check the status of your cryptos and everything. But it's doing that right from the code from the blockchain, not what's in the ledger. So the ledger does not have to be plugged in. It knows already how much money is in the ledger because the wallets are public. And it just tells you in real time how much is going on. So that's for those who need to check their stuff every morning. Like I know some of y'all check y'all stuff every morning, especially when it's going green. You're just like, you scroll down and then you let it hit up like $20 extra, and you be like, man, I could go eat for free right now. So anyway, the joy of it, which we have to even talk about spending cryptocurrency by the end of this conversation. I hope that's in my notes because that is an imperative conversation. So lastly, Ledger, because it works from your cell phone, it's like PayPal. You're able to send someone money fast. And because it has that Bluetooth option, because the other Ledger, you need to plug it into something. It's got a USB cable. It's got to be plugged into the computer. It can't be plugged into the phone. But the X, it pairs with the phone Bluetooth, and it works very smooth. And you can transfer the money. You approve it on your Ledger. Boom, boom. Okay, so that's just storage. That's the top end of storage. You can also store on a paper wallet. You can store on Ledger S or X or S. And there's other funny looking ones, but the boss in the game is the X, from functionality, storage, security, etc. Now here we go. I did go ahead and snip this. So this setting, as you can see on your screen, there's one setting here. Let me blow it up just a little bit more. And of course, this is a screenshot, so I'm not going to be able to click it. That enabled reserved amount, okay? I need to explain this button because if you push it at the wrong time, it's going to shut down your entire process if you don't have money in the exchange. So sometimes people, meaning that sometimes people confuse this button. They may not even know what it means because it's right there. They just kind of think it may have, reserve me some cash. I don't know what they think, but they push it. What this button does is when you're ready to collect profits, this is the easiest way to collect profits. You push the button, and then you enter the amount of profits that you would like to collect. Now, remember, if the profits are not there yet, you cannot use this option. I think that's what happens to some people is they be like, yes, I want to collect $10,000. But it's like, but you don't got $10,000 though. So how this works is that when you have a certain amount of profit, oh, wow, they put the thing in there now. Okay, that works. Can you see that mouse on the screen? Oh, yeah, they finally updated and did that. Congratulations. So when you see that, I kind of lost my train of thought here for a minute. That was just like such an amazing thing. They finally updated something after 10 years that we've all been asking for, which is just to be able to move your mouse around the inside of the screen. I got so fascinated. It's like the small things for me these days. Like I just got to take what I can get. So anyway, when you push this would mean that you already know in your profit column, which is at the main page of your thing. Let me push this over here real quick. Let me show this real quick right here. So you see how this profit column says that there's $11,840 in profits? That's how you know how much profits are actually in the exchange, as long as you don't have a sim running that has accrued these profits. Because that's why when you delete the sim, that will change, right? So this is non-sim profits, $11,840 on a wild, this one particularly that I'm running, I do all sorts of weird stuff with this one just to test things and play around with stuff. So it hasn't had the full advantage of just running and not letting anybody mess with it. But it has $11,840, okay? So when I say I want to take $5,000 of this, because remember, this $11,840 is going to be invested right now. This is not sitting in the exchange. It's working. It's in a position. So when I'm ready to take $4,000 of this or whatever, I need to start the process to where the bot stops spending money. And we used to do that on a buy trader level. Like we used to just, every trader we'd go to and we'd set it to $1. And you can still do that, but this is far more easier. You push the button, you put the $5,000 in, and you wait. What you're waiting for is basically, as the market turns, for it to start selling positions. And instead of it reinvesting the profits, it will not go into another position until after it reaches $5,000 in profits that is collected. And then once it reaches that, now the next wave of money coming in, it will start investing that again. So that's exactly how that button works. And that's how easy it is to take profits from this software. And believe it or not, that is all of the settings inside the system besides stuff that you can actually do in your profile, change your picture and all that kind of stuff, because it's not that complicated, nor should it be. So the question here is about BNB raising value of fee is raising in value. It used to be $30, now it's $200. Is it still recommended that we do the 1.8% profit as a minimum profit on purchases? And is that significant enough to cover exchange fees? Yes. In fact, what happens is, especially for those that have the setting which we talked about, how to reduce exchange fees, right? Because the more money you're going to getting all your micro profits, the more you get, the more you have. So there's a way BNB has opened up a way for, if you pay your transaction fees in Binance Coin, they reduce the transaction fees by, I believe, a minimum of 50%, right? So it's big because they just want everybody to use the coin and it's their exchange. So if you select that option, which you can in your profile, there's a help doc on how to do that. The only thing that happens is that, what can happen is if you have a BNB trader running, is it could actually start using the BNB, because it's just only looking for BNB, and there's no way for us to fix this. It could start using the BNB that maybe the bot has already purchased as a normal position. So this means that this does take a little bit of maintenance, but you save this on transaction fees. Just buy a bit of BNB based on the ratio of your account. Maybe I will buy, like, let's say if I had $10,000 in investment capital, I may buy like $500, $400 in BNB, which is still a lot. And then all those transactions are going to be coming out in BNB, Binance Coin, not in the increment or the denominator of the coin. And what this creates is it creates, the opportunity, like what happened just now with BNB went up. So anybody who had already purchased some BNB just for transaction fees, they saw their BNB go up. Now the transaction fees stayed the same, but the BNB they had increased. So that in necessitation meant that they're now not really paying transaction fees until they finally chew into all of the BNB that was won on the profit increase. So it's most important to realize that the BNB that is actually being taken out is at the value of the coin, the actual transaction fee. So that $5. So even if BNB is worth $300, it's still that $5 that it needs to take for that transaction fee, and they adjust that all in real time. Now, first of all, this person who asked me the question, we give thanks because they actually did answer the bulk of the real questions and of the questions that anyone would ask. And so I do appreciate that, because I know that person is there like, yo, those are all my questions. And he's just hitting them one by one. Is he magical? No, I did copy and paste your questions. So, and they sent it to me via email. So this next question, and actually at this point, I will ask that I'm going to do some rapid fire. And if you want to start to ask questions, I would ask you to put question. That's why if you did it already earlier, and I didn't tell you to do that, you're going to have to do it again. And you're going to just type question first. So that way we know that it is a question. And then you could type that question inside the chat. And again, this ain't support time. This is only stuff that was not covered, not directly related to something in technical support, but you still may have a question about. That's what I'll be addressing now. Let me also see if I can close this so I can see more. Yeah, I can do that. Bam. Okay, so I can see the whole thing. All right, so this next question is, okay, so we're seeing the traditional markets begin to crack and be exposed. Are we? These are the assumptions. Again, I didn't name the person, so don't feel like that everybody knows that I'm asking you and, now you're on blast. But are we seeing it being cracked and exposed, or are we being told that we're supposed to be seeing it be cracked and exposed? There's a difference in cryptocurrency, but I'll go on here. As investors, how can we shield ourselves from high-risk situations as investors move from the stock, bond, et cetera market into the crypto space? Volatility seems to be swinging from end to end everywhere. Yes. And the bot eats all of that. That's not what we say. That's our little saying over here. And the bot, he loves this. He eats all of that. This volatility is exactly why Wealthy Bot works so well. All these new people coming in, great. Just always remember, sell into the storm. Get your thing going the right way with your yin yang flow. That's what we were talking about earlier. Next question is, aside from converting back to fiat, have any tribe members found unique and successful ways of utilizing their profits? That is to say, aside from paying for necessities and bills and building a crypto portfolio, have team members come up with any futuristic or innovative ways of utilizing profits? What do you want us to build, a spaceship? You just, his team invested in a spaceship and we got a Falcon Heavy on the launch pad? I mean, people don't even let you really see their money these days. So trying to collaborate with them about their money, is a little personal. I will say that you kind of mentioned the things that are most important. Like I have this ad that I want to put up, and it's not going to be an ad. It was just a post. And I grabbed a generator off of Amazon, and I'm just going to put on there free. And this was free for me because I ended up making these profits on Wealthy Bot, and I bought this generator, and now I'm that much more of a step closer to my sovereignty, which is paying for my power. So at the end of the day, while we may expect cryptocurrency to do backflips, there are things that it's actually doing right now that maybe we're not fully capitalizing on. And that is like, one, if I was still in the hustle, like 10 years ago, you had to get it how you live for me. Like maybe about 12 years ago now, since I'm growing some gray hair. You had to get it how you live. So in respect to that, if something like this is growing in profits, just an idea here. Something like this is growing in profits. You see Wealthy Bot takes profits, right? So you have these profits coming in from time to time. So what are you investing those profits on? Right now, the adoption in the space is a little strange, I have to admit, meaning that you need to do your own personal research about coming back from crypto into something like fiat. There's crypto.com. If you're in any other country, it seems, especially South Africa, you can spend crypto like you're spending regular money. There's also websites. BMW takes crypto, by the way, unless if you really wanted that X8, just had to get that James Bond Pininfarina edition or whatever. Like they do take crypto. But in respect, there's also another company that they lend on crypto. So if you still have to go out and borrow something, then they lend on crypto without even considering your credit score because it doesn't make any difference to them. It only is based on what they feel like Bitcoin is going to do in the future to how much they'll lend you. And they don't even take your crypto. They just kind of hold it. And if the crypto goes up to an amount that will cover the loan, they forgive the loan and give you the money back. Dang. That's the kind of thing, but you got to go and research that kind of stuff for yourself and go and find that. But it's not just about kind of harvesting, like, let me find this, let me find that. And again, you still got $10 in the chart. It's about actually having a plan and then saying, well, I plan on buying my house with Bitcoin. So then your investigation is what company is going to take Bitcoin for that house. And also, what house? That's why you can start going and doing the investigation now. Try to find a home or try to find people who are ready to take Bitcoin. There are sites that have people who are selling homes in certain areas that they will take Bitcoin. So there's some groundwork to do there. And some people complain about that. That honestly is one of the biggest complaints that we hear if a person ever is down in Bitcoin is that, well, I'm having a hard time spending it. But it's like, but you're a bank now. So yeah, you got to go and do your own banking. That's what happens that's when you're in the private space. You need somebody to actually come into that private space with you. If you don't have someone to do a private transaction with, you can even be on the private side, but if they're on the public side, that still means that transaction based on the criteria that they signed up for needs to be disclosed. So it takes two private parties in order to keep a deal private, and that is sovereignty. That is your right. But if someone's in the public space using fiat, et cetera, then that does actually make it now a public event. They have new terms now. They call it semi-decentralized. What this basically means is that part of the transaction is public, part of the transaction is private. So in every respect, it's just about seeing exactly what you need to do in order to, what move do you need to make, how much money is involved, and there are places that actually will take the funds and send a wire. So they'll take crypto, and you probably have to do some kind of KYC, but they'll take crypto and then they'll go and then wire the actual fiat version of the money wherever you tell them to send it to. So the thing that I wanted to talk about, though, was now Purse.io is booming. Like I'm using Purse.io. I've got some stuff the other day. Purse.io will sell you anything that is on Amazon. Let me show you this. This is the masterclass. I forgot. This is not one-on-one Wealthy Bot seminar. Y'all like bring it, like show it to me like Jerry Maguire. Let me show it to you then. 1 second. I'm going here to Purse.io. For those of y'all that's still on the grind out there, like I feel you, like it's real in the field, all right? So let me just show you when you go and do research in finances, like what would be your standard procedure, okay? Like what method could you use? Give me a minute. Let me just shrink this down because this thing is huge. It's the maxi today on crypto. Give me 1 quick second. I'm trying to, oh man, I didn't pull it off the screen now. Let me just do this. Bam, let's try that. Okay. Let me blow it up just a little bit more. I trust y'all are enjoying this knowledge and information. I'm actually having a good time. It's been a pretty wild week for me, man. To say the least, but hey, you know, we live again. So watch this. So even when I first came to this site, I was like, right away, I just kind of prejudgment. I was like, yo, they selling this cheesy stuff. I wouldn't want to buy this stuff for Bitcoin anyway. That's exactly what I said. So I came to Purse.io and I was like, well, shoot, books from, like, I don't want to read. I don't want books. I want something big. Look, the sovereign individual, I think everybody may need to get that. But I was thinking like, okay, this is a site that's only listing what they have for sale that they will buy with Bitcoin. Wrong. If I go to Amazon, let's see if I can get in Amazon, and I want to buy this, I go here, I copy this link, I go back here, I paste it here. Wait for it. Bam, here it is. I add it to my cart and I dip, and nobody knows that I was even there. That's a whole different level of transaction. I fund my wallet inside of Purse with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. And when I check out, another guy who's called an earner, which I think, may be the new hustle. And I'll show you why. An earner is going to fulfill that order eventually. Okay? Now, what happens is obviously Live with BTC is all live. He's got 49,503 transactions, so he's doing something in order to accrue. What he's doing is, how this site is set up is that they have an API integration with Amazon. And then what Amazon does is that they accept, of course, gift cards. But there are many sites that actually sell Amazon gift cards for Bitcoin directly. Whole Foods does too. Everybody does. This is what I found out, because this is how you do the sleuth work. Go to the footer. The footer says this all is powered by Bitcoin. So it means that Purse.io did not build this. They're powered by, they built this, but they don't own this technology. Bitcoin is the technology. Who is Bitcoin? Go over here to Bitcoin then. What's up, B? So then I go over here to Bitcoin, and I realize that Bitcoin is basically a software, right? Clearly, somebody would stop here. Code, no, get me off. No, code. I can't do nothing with this. But keep going. Who's using Bitcoin? So I went to all of these places, and I found out this one specifically, Redeem, is got a plethora of every single kind of card that you can think of. Best Buy card, all of the cards that are like the cards from the store, the gift cards. And you can buy those gift cards with this. And so what I believe that guys like the guy we were talking about earlier, Lightning with Bitcoin is doing is he's buying the cards over here for 15% off. Okay? This is a numbers game. Then he's coming back to Purse.io, and the benefit of Purse.io is when I was going to go buy that backpack right now. Let's go see. Let me go back and get the link. I'm not going to buy that backpack at the same price that I'm going to buy it at Amazon. They're actually going to try to extend me a 5% discount. Watch this. So when I add this to the cart, then I go to my cart, and I go to the checkout. You see this? It says set your discount. Okay, somebody said the screen quality is really fuzzy. So let me try to blow it up one more set. Is everybody seeing that fuzzy screen quality? Wave your hand. Fuzzy for you? A little bit. Let's bring it up a little bit then. This is a little funny to me too. Is that better for you? Is it fuzzy? Okay, great. We give thanks. So you see how it says set your discount? So how this literally works is that right out the bat, you're going to save 5% off of anything you buy. That's why they want to encourage you. They're encouraging you to come and spend Bitcoin. But you can also slide this to 10%. Now, this kind of controls how fast this order will go through, okay? Which is kind of based on what the market is doing. So when we're in this kind of like parabolic situation, you would have to select 5% because basically the people who earn here, they can make money somewhere else. They're somehow making money off of, they're probably using WealthyBot, who knows? But they know, hey, I might as well make money there. But when the market gets normal, all the money is made here. So you can even slide this all the way up to 15%, and that order will still get filled. Somebody will take that $30 L if you may, because it's not an L for them because they figure out how to work it out in the back end. And then they'll come back around. This is like that wave effect that I was telling you. They'll come back around. So basically, this person's profit, the one who would fill this order, would be about 15% when he's done. Now, here's another thing. Now, remember, if we made 20%, 30%, or we're making and accruing profits in WealthyBot, what's to stop a person from just taking those profits and buying electronics and just dropping iPhone 12 and all that and just turning them back around if they need to actually get some cash for what they're doing, or even starting an electronic store. So somebody who may be worried about sitting on Bitcoin, because I didn't say to everybody to go and sit on Bitcoin for the next 50 years. I'm trying to figure out if Earth is going to be here in the next 50 years, let alone some damn Bitcoin. The whole thing may just be full of ledger wallets by the time we're done, and something like Wall-E, we're running around collecting all of them for all we know if we don't get it together on a bigger level. But for the record, if you are making these micro profits that are starting to accrue into something major, but you're still looking for something that's going to hold value beyond Bitcoin, start finding things that do hold value like that. You see what I mean? Or it can be turned into something that you could create value for. Like a little sliver of a iPhone 12 right now is like a little sliver of gold damn near sometimes with how much it's actually worth. So I'm just giving you some ideas here to realize that the space is open for doing different things, but you need to get that ingenuity, though. You need to become your own bank. You got to go and make the deal. And if you do, though, you'll be one of the first businesses still to emerge into the market because things are still that fresh. So while everybody's still thinking about, like, let me invest some money into Bitcoin, you need to be thinking, let me invest money in Bitcoin, make money on Bitcoin, and then invest that money in X. And then also, if you have a business right now, you need to be taking Bitcoin. Because even you just advertising that you take Bitcoin is like you saying you got AI. Now, all of a sudden, people feel like that what you have going on is more advanced than what everybody else has going on. So you're riding that trend. And then, of course, if somebody is going to pay you in cryptocurrency, it establishes two things for you. One, you have two ways to win. A person at least bought whatever you had. And two, that money can increase. Three, you're assisting in at least backing down that other dragon that just really wants you to be a slave to the system, period. There is no wiggle room there. And I'm talking about the old fiat world. If we have Bitcoin, but we can't find people to take Bitcoin, or we can't have more services opening up to take Bitcoin, Bitcoin cannot grow, or cryptocurrency cannot grow and be as powerful as it can be for sovereignty. We could get hamstrung. We're actually right in that moment right now. We either have a breakout, and for those that are working with sovereignty through cryptocurrency and preserving their privacy, they would win. Or we can have a breakdown. This would mean that people still were clinging to their surrogate mother and father so much called the government that they would then start accepting the government stable coin as in lieu of fiat currency, and then allow the market to close out all of the other coins that are not in compliance with that. Then two worlds emerge. Because I know maybe my smart people back there have thought about this. Will it be the end of Bitcoin? No. Will it be the end of cryptocurrency? Hells no. Will it affect the price? Probably. But will it be the end? No. And what will be the outcome? Two worlds. A world where to be a part of it, they would need to know everything about you. This is the world when you walk down the street, the augmented reality Google glasses that are coming, or Apple glasses, the one that they got the patent out already. They're already done in design. They're about to launch them next year. When you walk down the street, anybody that's opted in, you see them. It's like the movie where you see the box around them. You see their name on top. You see their social media accounts. And because it's identifying all those people right then. And that's the people who opt in. And then it's like cyberpunk on the other side. Everybody there agrees that the cryptos that are in use are the form of transaction. And the rogues, which may even include, again, your Elon Musk, et cetera, distribute from that mainframe, meaning that all the technologies that we buy, all the cars, all the different things that we still would need to use in that other world, they become the distributors of that because they're still accepting that. That's why, again, that big end game with a lot of this stuff is manufacturing. You can buy 3D printers with Bitcoin then if Amazon is open. You can manufacture. You could get things that can create power, pumps. You see what I mean? So there is more to this, that sovereignty is really about creating the technologies and adaptations that allow you to generate power. And then if you can generate power, then you can create industry. Remember, Tesla is on top right now, not because he just has the robots and he has the cars and he has the autonomous and he has the AI. It's because he has the power. Tesla batteries, Tesla technologies, Nike, graphene, those particular elements allow him to fuel those robots, and he can break down that power, raw power, into something that you will buy. So now he's harvesting power over his yield, meaning that he's harvesting power from the sun. And he's harvesting power from different things that generate power. And he has an excess of power. And with that excess, he can run more robots. And this is the laws of thermodynamics and how it touches into finance. With the power of those robots can bend up. See, every time a robot bends a piece of steel, it costs a certain unit of power to do that. Any factory, Johnson & Johnson, anybody's factory, it's got to plug in somewhere, and then there's a cost for power. That is the core cost to industry and business, is power. So if somehow you're able to offset your cost of power, like you decide to buy an LG Powerwall or a Tesla Powerwall with your profits from cryptocurrency, right? Now you're winning. You see what I mean? You actually now generate your power. And then now let's say you have a certain industry that you're working in and it demands a certain amount of power. Maybe you run sewing machines. Who knows? But now that power, instead of being 5 cents for you, is now 1 cent.
And energetically, what this also does, because sometimes people say, well, that's only a couple cents for me. Energetically, it means 7 times what it would be worth here on the physical plane to get yourself into this kind of level of adaptation about how you need to be navigating the future, because it's here. I sat in on a playlist the other day, 60 videos of GPT-3 technology with AI now deployed inside of Google. They deployed it in Google about 2 weeks ago. The world will never be the same again. It's already happened. Did anybody get that news? What does this mean? It means that now this mainframe, which is more advanced than a traditional AI, has all the code of websites, all the data, and everything to start its process, which it could take it 20,000 years. But it can do 20,000 years in 3 days through quantum hash power. This is also the other use of the blockchain. It means that still computational power is also power. That's why GPUs and all the rates that you pay to transfer cryptocurrency is the rate of the electricity cost of the miner that is going to process that transaction. Because computational power has a specific ticket on it. That's why Amazon makes way more money than off of Amazon.com with its servers, because of the computational power that it has. So this computational power, it has a value. And, what I'm saying is that, to make it very simple, the change is going to happen anyway, because let's say there was a physical calculator. You remember those? That physical calculator that you used to use on your desk at school has now been replaced by a software calculator. Okay? This is an analogy. This means that, yes, there are things that can be replaced by something non-tangible. There is some things physical that had value that can be replaced by something non-tangible. It's not a sci-fi film. It's a reality. We don't know what all those applications are because we're not necessarily thinking about the things that can be phased out through something digital. But the calculator is a good example, because once they wrote the code to the software, now most of the time, when do you use the calculator? On your phone. The calculator itself is phased out. The software is here. What happened to the guy that makes calculators? You see what I mean? So that's an analogy for how technology can come and actually replace things that are physical and bring a non-physical solution in and liquidate that position altogether. Okay? So I'm sure that you've had enough of just the awareness of that mode of thinking about, remember, if you want money, go where money is. You always knew to do that. It's just now they're trying to advance it so much so it just seems like too complicated. You know what I mean? And anybody can get it. Like if you sit down with that crypto Bible and you got into that like you would get into Instagram, like some people have wrote in volumes in Instagram. They could have wrote 3-4 encyclopedias with how much they have been texting on Instagram. So it's just that time, but the time is valuable. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brothers, your kids, your nieces, your nephews may be thanking you for this later on, because somebody needs to get on point. You may have already missed it. I can't even ask anybody here if you caught the internet craze, like when you could have bought red.com, blue.com, or any of that .com stuff. I can't ask you that, because for sure, if you did, you would not even be here. You would have already mastered the money thing. So here it comes again. Anybody that is around the age of 40 to 45, you now had 2 times. I saw the internet come online. I was still younger, Prodigy Online, American Online, when that whole thing came online. But when I reached my teens, 16, 17, I caught the wave of building computers. That's how I sustained myself then. But I also missed out on buying .coms, and I could have done it just like anybody else. This is another one of those times. All you have to do is learn the technology. And if you're trying to solve your money problem for the rest of your life, it can be done here and now. This is not necessarily about you holding Bitcoin until it reaches 150,000. 30% of your portfolio may be dedicated to do that. This is also about getting more innovative about how to create services in that space, because it is in need of services.
And how that looks then is that the overall saturation of the market is still low. Cryptocurrency has a huge valuation, but the actual deployable technologies like Purse are still very minuscule. And that means if you create something in that space, like let's say you're going to make a documentary, get paid in crypto too. Put the crypto gateway in. Coinbase allows you to put the crypto gateway in with nothing. Those are just wallets. Those are not like PayPal is where you're wired into the system. They're just wallets. So that's what I'm saying. There's a huge opportunity here. I'm here to assist you as much as possible. I'm not going to take any raised hands right now, but what I will do is I'll go rapid fire through the questions because we are at the end of today's bill. So I asked everyone that had a question to paraphrase that question with the word question. I see that many did not do that, so I'll spare you a little bit. I may not catch all of these, but I will say for the record for everyone, the main thing that you have to do in this space is you have to really listen because you can make mistakes. There's not a day that somebody doesn't come in and they haven't made a mistake, and there's nothing that we can do because we don't own the blockchain. You see what I mean? So there's a lot of responsibilities here. So it means that when we're talking about this, you got to think about in your life, there are certain things like, I don't know, maybe you're a PUBG expert or something like that. And when you're hearing new things about it, your ears perk up and you listen to every single detail. But then when it comes to something like this, I don't know, maybe you like the POG things, the things they slam on the table and they flip over. You may know all of them. You may know all the beers or something like that. And every draft beer from Germany, right? And every time that shit comes on, you're just like they're glued. You need to be like that with this kind of thing right now because it's probably going to ensure that in the future you're able to even enjoy those kind of things possibly. So the question here is, will a copy of this live presentation be available in the aftermath of this? Absolutely. We'll go ahead and get it put together. It looks like the recorder has done it. It's been 2 hours. And I look still fresh in this thing. Like I can still keep going, but I'm not. The next question here is, can you share that playlist, please, brother, about AI? Actually, I'll share the entire page. It's called 2-Minute Papers. And here's what I'm waiting on, right? Because, I don't have enterprise money yet. I just, put it like that. I don't have no $400,000 to be paying nobody just to come take a look, right? So I'm sitting back there like I'm at the next, that the starting line, right? So the enterprise of third party has taken off already. I'm in that next wing. Let me say 2-Minute Papers. I'm in that next wing waiting to receive the baton. There's not a day really that goes by that I don't check when is the third-party consumer version of the AI application going to be available. That can be tracked at open.ai, which is the project. Okay, so the open source artificial intelligence and the use of the GTP3 software is going to be announced on OpenAI when it happens. And Googling simple things like in YouTube, I came into one video from 2-Minute Papers where it talked about different softwares that were already available to the public that are using this real AI. Again, we're not talking about the fake one. One of those, it takes complex legal jargon and it makes it into something simple. So if you upload a PDF of a contract that's super complicated, it will break that thing down in layman's terms, and vice versa. So if you write up something and then you want it to sound professional and like it's like a contract, it'll turn it into that. Another one, I think it's called Philosopher AI. They've uploaded all the data sets of beings like Einstein, okay? And then now you can go and ask Einstein a question and he will answer like he's Einstein. Now, this is not like it's just feeding back to you data about what Einstein said. That's not what it's doing. This thing has spent years, hundreds of years, which again could be 2 or 3 days based on hash power, in knowing who Einstein is, and then to be able to talk and speak and act like Einstein, okay? And they're now thinking about loading in Socrates and others, okay? And so these kind of adaptations, which are still, that's peanuts for me. I'm like, okay, give me the real stuff. And so I'm still waiting for something that is adaptable, because my goal is to defeat the Bhagavad Gita, to be honest. Like, I'll just be straightforward. If some of y'all asking me, like, okay, Seven, what does this mean? Are you talking about total world domination? Are you becoming the villain at this point? No. I'm talking about getting something to confirm to everybody what I've already been telling everyone about how this world functions and what's going to ultimately happen here, by giving it a data set of something that has already articulated that, and then have it gander how long it's going to take for this all to pop, and also how this can be avoided by some of those who may want to actually do certain things. You know what I mean? And of course, I would try to query that in meditation first. I would not try to wait on some droid to answer the secrets of life for me. But hey, I'm not turning down my collar except on anything like this. And so I'm waiting for real applications of AI that are available to third party that will assist us in our endeavors and what we see to what we want to get accomplished. Okay. So this next question here is let me paste that link real quick, because it is called 2 Minute Papers, but it turns out that their URL is different. So there it is right there. That's 2 Minute Papers. And if you go to playlists there, you'll see the playlist on GTP3. And yeah, I just I even fell asleep a little bit, man. I was like, man, this is some stuff that I just need my consciousness to know, but not necessarily awake. And I took that through there in order to really be on point with how things are changing and what are the ramifications of what things will change into. Okay, so the next question is that boom, boom, boom. Can I use the Voyager exchange on WealthyBot to make profits? We're only dealing with Binance right now. There's a reason for that. Binance is sitting over there in Hong Kong, I believe it is, and they still allowing all this stuff to happen and go on, and they're very forthcoming with it. They do have the U.S. side of things. Binance is like the Jack Ma. They're like the Alibaba of exchanges at this point. So they themselves have become, especially with the new pancake technology, almost unbreakable. So for me, even jumping on the team with other exchanges are like a little offensive. It's like you was a blood and then you became a Crip. It just doesn't work. You know, I try to stay in with the folks that actually really, really keep delivering, and then not making it so complex where when we're starting to get into other exchanges, now we have to build new models. We have to adjust stuff. We have more errors, all that kind of stuff. So remember, we're not like this huge company back here. So we're sticking to what works. And maybe in the future, we'll see more exchanges on this side of things. The next question is, if you believe, like me, in economic inclusion and the distribution of prosperity. Wait, I don't think this is going to be a question. Hold on real quick. Okay, I think somebody's shilling good dollar. Come on now. You can't be shilling inside the chat. You know, you're supposed to be chilling, not shilling. Well, I guess I'll let the moderators handle that. So I guess somebody's over here shilling good dollar with their invitation code. And, man, that could get you banned from the whole thing, man, because, you know, we come in here and we try to keep it G. But anyway, is Secret Energy Conscious Community down? I somehow cannot find it. And can someone invite me? Shoot, I hope it's not down, or y'all need to call the developers. Call them. And no, it should be powering online. SecretEnergy.com, you know, we good. Like, in fact, we got one of the best builds ever right now. That thing is running fast. And we're about to put in that Meet app, which is kind of like a Tinder style, except for it's not really differentiated between male and female, of hooking up with people that are actually in your area, but it's like front facing. So you'll be able to just link up with people the moment that you jump right in the app. So I don't think it's down. You don't need an invite. You can jump in, and there's a lot of stuff available there for you. Okay. Okay, I think somebody's already answering the questions for me, which is great. If you own a business, how do you get paid with crypto? What wallet can I use? Coinbase. There's a few other, crypto.com. So for sure, well, somebody already answered that question. Look, Adamo, man, look, man, why don't you just jump on in this thing right now and finish us off here? Because it's like, yo, Coinbase, brother. Like, didn't you hear it? We give thanks. Let me see. I would like to be taken as a student. I want to be prepared. The synergy, yes. Yes, you can be. Well, that was a direct message, okay? So I see some people are sending me direct messages. We have the tutelage going on. There's nothing greater than having a mentor this life, but it's all of us. We're in sovereignty mentorship. If you like some of the deep dive that we went into today that kind of got out of the genre of cryptocurrency, that's what we do over there. It's our pleasure This is what we've been doing, and it works. Like, I'm not only the client, I'm also the president at this stage, and it's just a beautiful time to be in, to find something genuine in a world of ghosts, because at this days, it just seemed like, there's a lot of programs running around, so we know how to deprogram that. Question, if you own a business, okay, that's the roll-up. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Okay, there's another one. I think I went to that. Taxes in America, I recommend TaxBit, Crypto Trader Tax. Ooh, the T word. Ugh. I need to get some water. I still can't get my head around understanding the practical difference between up and down and wealthy bot. Okay, there is actually a post about this, but to make it very simple, up and down is going to close the position the moment that it hits that. So also remember the reason why, even if you set 1.8%, sometimes you see it at 2.1, sometimes you see it at 1.7, is because it puts in an order right then. But especially when it's the charts are going crazy, the stuff's moving up and down, that order may or may not be filled. This was what we found out was causing certain glitches when people push sell and then they get errors. I know some are familiar with that. Oh boy, it was a thorn in our side. We finally have addressed this issue. And it was just that Binance was not sending back a completely accurate amount of how much that trade sold for, because it's trying to fill multiple positions. If you ever watch that left panel of when the buying and selling is happening, it's doing that within micro cents. And sometimes if those cents, even the cents are off, this creates an error of a micro cent. And then you would have to go in and put in a micro cent in order to close that position. So we've worked on that. We've actually come up with some solutions for that. But just for the record, that up and down is going to close right around whatever that percent is, versus WealthyBot is going to try to take a different approach. It's going to attempt to analyze the process of this coin and say, well, he set it at 2.1%, but can I get more than that? And it'll look at the moving average and it'll say something like, I think we should hold out on this one, and it won't close that position. And what you may notice is it'll go up to 5-6%, and then it'll close the position. But sometimes the drawback is it will let that position dip back into the negatives, because it'll believe that it can actually still get more based on how the market is moving. And sometimes it's right. Maybe sometimes it has to take a little bit longer. And that's the difference between those positions. So it's like the WealthyBot setting is for those that want to get that extra grab at the percentages that may be available before the position closes. So this next question is, I haven't started yet. An Australian struggling to load money. Sounds like you got some support issues. You need to jump in and support. It's all available for you. This next question is using the receiving the address of the public keys. Okay, that doesn't seem like a question. And looks like I'm scrolling closer to the bottom. Do you think the moon cycles affect the cryptocurrencies? I absolutely do. I'm one of those people. Call me a conspiracy theorist. But I be noticing, man, when we go all the way up on the full moon, it's like everybody just gets foolish. I'm in, like that GIF I have. I feel like, yeah, at times, and if we did some study from the charts to the moon cycles, and I think that's just a natural thing that when it's full moon time, people feel more abundant. They feel like throwing the money a little bit. And then the charts seeming to be correlating with that seems to be a perfect shoe-in for them to invest during those times. And remember, generally it's up. So it almost seems like maybe some other forces are at play again. AI. Anyway, knowing that humans, when they get into that peak moment, they feel a little bit more like this is it. This is going to happen. And then they start investing on this top end full moon. And then by new moon, they be emo'd out. Like, because sure, the charts be looking pretty shiced sometime, depending on what kind of bull run is happening during the new moon. So from my experience, I've seen something. But of course, don't quote me on that. Don't say that, yeah, this is exactly what he believes in. Someone says it seems to be even possible that it would be a decent dollar amount to get my foot in the door to keep starting with WealthyBot. But should I just keep profits in my exchange so that WealthyBot has that much more to work with? Sorry, is this a silly question? Okay, sorry if this is a silly question. So what this is really based on, Ethan, is actually how much money you're investing in the first place, right? So let's say, for instance, that we're basing a lot of these funds on how much you have extra inside of your account that you're willing to lose. Some people say that amount is 10%, 15%. Some people say that's 20%. So you alone have to determine that amount. And then once you determine that amount, the goal is for you to invest that amount and try to get to, as fast as possible, that amount becoming all profit. So if I put in $10,000, I want that to get to $10,000 as soon as possible. When it does, I play. Well, everybody plays different. How I play is I take my 10,000. I take it. Because now I'm not even tied in. I could care less. Bitcoin up, Bitcoin down, Smitcoin, Bitcoin. I don't care because it's not real money anymore. I'm only using profits. So that's just for me. That gives me a peace of mind. Some people, they don't need that extra peace of mind. They'll say, let it all ride. I just want to see what it does. Right? And so those are the two different mindsets. So my goal is to get back at the profits that I originally put in. And then I remove that. Now I'm working with $10,000 of free money. And then I can get a little bit more aggressive at my strategy. I could do all sorts of stuff. And somehow it seems to work for you a bit better. This is another thing. It seems like, again, when you're playing with your own money, this gets, again, you're just more invested in it. All the way around energetically and everything. But when you start playing around with only your profits, it seems like you could just throw a dart on the board and it works. I'm not sure in life what that's all about, but I have noticed it energetically in quite a few different things. So the question here is, as we're coming to a close, is that the pancake swap that I'm speaking of? You're welcome in dish. Okay. I'm not sure if that question seems to be fragmented to the previous statement. Maybe it was sent privately, so I'll just keep going with this since we're hitting the bottom. Is WealthyBot trading more than Tether now? Yes, this was one of the questions. Okay, the Tether thing, the other T word. Okay. Let me explain to you a little something about Tether, because obviously after this whole situation happened with XRP, which of course is still trading, many have come under the concern because there has been since the beginning a question about whether Tether is going to come under direct attack. Okay. Now, anybody that tells you yes and anybody tells you no, they would not have this information anyway, even if you have public claims and filings and all sorts of stuff going on in the background. What do I believe? Personally, I look at how many institutions are actually using Tether. Okay. WealthyBot is not the only one by far using Tether. There are big institutions that are using Tether. Tether has more trading pairs than any other cryptocurrency. So it seems like to me, since Tether's coming straight out of Switzerland's always been handling a lot of the money, that it's possibly that same faction in Switzerland has been trying to handle a lot of money, and this is their coin. And there's a lot of speculation around the whole thing because I do see kind of Tether as somewhat of a hole in the whole scheme of things because they can mint Tether and not be audited and say if they really have that money. And I think overall, as long as you'll be able to buy Tether with Bitcoin, this does not help Bitcoin. Okay, but there's a lot of things that don't help Bitcoin, like the dark web. You see what I mean? So pound for pound, until I see major institutions start sliding, we have other things to prioritize as far as our developers are concerned that we want to get deployed than trying to also get in another stable coin. Now, have we thought about it? Are we working on it? Absolutely. What's next? More than likely USDC, because it's second in line for having that amount of pairs, and it seems to be a bit more solid than Tether. But right now, things like the affiliation, things like the changing of the GUI, because there's still an update going that has to happen to the dashboard, seeing the money that you have in Tether already from our side of things, so you don't have to go in and log into the exchange. Those things are more important right now for where we're going than trying to have an alternative to Tether. And so that is officially where we're at with Tether and all the speculation around it. Somebody's asking for the recommendation. I see 2.1. I see 1.8 so close to 2.1 that either of them don't really make a difference, but 2.1 has been that law of threes, as they say, and so that's what we've been using. Somebody's asking for the Philosophy AI app again. What I'll do is I'll text, because I have that in my, there was a guy that I watched. Actually, you know what? I don't put off for today. What they say, never put off today what you could do for it today, tomorrow. My mom raised me like that. And so instead of me telling you I'll send it to you later, I'm going to send it to you now. And it was a video where the guy just basically, his channel was like the top AI softwares right now that you can use, right? And so let me just grab this link real quick from my history. Boom. And these are all the ones from the one that does the legal work for you to the one that does the philosophy thing. Actually, let me just search here for it. Artificial. Sometimes I be wondering about my history. Sometimes I be like looking at my history. Let me see, top. It was actually the intelligence apps. All right. Well, it looks like that maybe it's on my phone, even though I use the same account. Let me just do one more search here. It's just not popping up inside of my search field, of course, because I need it. Okay, here it is. Bam. Real live GPT-3 apps you can use. Okay, that was the title. Do that. And let me search one GPT-3. Yeah.
Here we go. I have all the questions. I'll explain later.
Okay, here that is. Okay, so that the guy, he goes over quite a few of them. And this dude's page actually, let me see, let me make sure this is the guy. Yeah. Now this dude's page is actually also, he does it again right here. So the one that I saw, and I put this to watch later, and later never came. He updated this again. Now there was already some stuff that was pretty awesome. And then he just did one again recently, so I'm sure he's got some other stuff in there. But I would subscribe to this channel and watch this guy and 2 Minute Papers, meaning like watch what comes in the feed that may be new from them, because the moment that this thing drops to third party completely, they're going to be using those apps or demoing out those apps right away. Okay, so you have that. So question, should I wait for the digital wallet to come? So tapping into decentralized finance. Wow, okay. Okay, so I'm going to just start from here. And because we do have to hard stop, I'm going to hard stop at the 30-minute point and get through as many of these questions as possible. Because it definitely seems like since I turned away and I look back, it was like the whole question thing went like way down there. So, man, there's a lot of questions here. Obfuscated the server, philosophy. Okay, here we are. Okay, here we are. So the next question is, I'm excited to tap into the Crypto Bible. Are there any YouTube channels your recommendation to learn about crypto? Yep, Ian Bellina, Diary of a Made Man. Somebody may want to share that link with them here, because I'm sure somebody here at least knows about Ian Bellina. Can you do maintenance on trade settings, such as changing up and down in WealthyBot whilst the open trade is active? That's a good question. I don't think it's good practice to give a lot of commands to a trader. So in its instance, so I think it's actually that field is grayed out, just like you can't change the coin. But maybe somebody can explore that and come back and let us know if you could change the actual strategy. But I would always recommend that if you're going to do a strategy, have that be on a fresh trader in order for its history to be accurate, even if it's up and down. Looks like the internet may be dropping out a little bit. What are your thoughts on NFTs? I think it's another creative way. We spoke on this last night. For those who need to know about that, I'm not sure what the abbreviation actually is, but it's used a lot in relation to putting art on the blockchain or putting rare items on the blockchain and then charging for those items as a new way of revenue, a new way of accruing revenue, or actually being able to actually own an asset and know that it's not clonable. So I think, again, like with anything goes in cryptocurrency, it kind of falls in that category a bit, because it's like now it's digitized. So there obviously are some assets where they're digitizing something physical, but now it seems to be also going in the direction of creating something digital that then has value as a collectible. So in 2017, we saw a lot of this already. Like there was a lot of different companies coming out and they had all types of creative ideas. And at the end of the day, sometimes I believe, what this one guy that was a whale said a long time ago, and said, a lot of these coins just exist just to get your Bitcoin. So you need to be on point that you're not necessarily dumping off so much funds or not taking profits and getting involved in something and putting your heart all into it. Now you love the coin and you don't even know these people. And then all of a sudden, all your family finances are in there and you're not benefiting, not taking profits. So when you see some of these ideas, and if they sound like a little shaky to you, it's more than likely because they are, because anything in 2017 that somebody said they were going to do on blockchain, it was like that same AI phenomena. And that's still going on a little bit. Like, let's put art on the blockchain. I don't know. Let's put chickens on the blockchain. Let's, you know what I mean? So it just becomes that to grab attention and then get people to invest in the coin. So be on point about that. Some are saying, are we tapping into decentralized finance? WealthyBot itself is semi-decentralized. I won't speak on that just directly, but for those that know what I'm talking about, they do. You can ask others inside the chat about getting yourself together on the privacy level. But we do offer a semi-decentralization that you have an opportunity to take advantage of. Someone said, where do you purchase NFTs? There's sites like Rarity, I think it's called. I mentioned some of them last night. These are basically, if you type in crypto art, I would search Google first because there's a lot of videos that are just specifically about that. And then they'll tell you, about how you can even also get one. Like maybe some of y'all do music. You may put your music on an NFT right now and then try that and then see, if that's able to catch some traction just because you're jumping onto the new technology. Should I wait for my digital wallet to come before I start putting in serious money in a WealthyBot? That's actually your choice. If you're sitting on top of your paper wallet, et cetera, then it's the same thing as having a ledger, except for you don't have the digital technology of the ledger. But again, definitely make those kind of choices yourself because you need to know your environment that you're in. Is there such thing as too many traders? Yes. Based on your investment capital, if there's just too many traders in there and they all got these wild positions and you just thought the more the merrier, it still takes more money pound for pound from the investment capital to run more traders. And so it would be basically the same thing if you had 2 or 3 traders, I use 2 in each position, that were working that same coin, than if you had 200 because of the amount it would invest specifically in that coin. So sometimes a lot of traders is not the best idea. But if you have a lot of investment capital, it is a better idea to have more traders because that's just more positions you have open. So when we get that wave, you have more positions that are actually closing. What would that amount be in investment capital? That build that I showed you earlier today, it made an ROI in 5 months. The investment capital on that was $6,000, right? And it hit its initial investment capital. Now it looks like it's at about $12,000. So it's now made double of what it would have. So it's made a total of $16, $13, $12, $18,000. I already removed the $6,000 from it. It's made another $11,000 worth of profit. So this is kind of like what you're looking at from the number standpoint. Now, remember, that could have been $1 million. It didn't matter how much money was actually in there. It's always going to, that could have been $400. It's going to do those same numbers in that same period of time. But that was tested on a slightly bearish market. Those traders were able to do that. And because I had kind of cut that specific trader off, I didn't have it on during the bear run and then during the bull run. And once things started going up, I just didn't want to turn it on because I would be breaking the principles of buying on a high. And I had no clue that we would go this high. So that trader doesn't really reflect what would have been earned in a bull run. It reflects what was done in a quasi bear market. All right. So it looks like we're almost at that hard stop point. We got 1 minute. So I'll take one more question here. I think someone talked about the Doge pump, dangerous stuff to get involved with just because it's almost like people are now aware of it. They're waiting for Elon to pump it so they can just sell into the storm. Someone says, if you had $10,000 in four coins, would you invest in, what 4 coins would you invest in right now? Like, always look at the top 5 and understand why they're there. Look at the top 10 and understand why they're there. I don't really do let me find a project that is up and coming and it's going to be the winner of all of them. It's going to be the next Bitcoin, as they all say, like G99 and a lot of the rest of them. I always look at the new ones like, The ones that are gaining rapid momentum, like I try not to buy on highs. So you see what I mean? It's always that same principle. If you're buying something and it's super cheap, you're taking more risk, right? That's the investment world. If you're buying something and it's already like a blue chip crypto, quote unquote, like a Polkadot, a ADA, you may be needing to wait for a good position to come in on and then be more thinking about the long-term value of that coin. So I can't really give you pointers on specifically for coins because I consult the charts, use things like token metrics. Check out Ian Bellina. He's going to have way more data on something like that. I'm never afraid to tell you, hey, that's just not something I'm exhausting right now, but I can point you in the right place of people who do that on a professional level. So that would be Ian. Question says, to our business savvy and to our business savvy 7 ARK Investments, have you heard of that group, Disruptive Technologies Investments? I believe I've heard of them. I think I actually have been witnessing their movements through Crunchbase, and how they were buying up a lot of disruptive technologies and how the fund itself kind of start mooning because of that. There's no question here directly, except for, do I look at this? Am I investing in certain things? It was to my understanding that this was a publicly traded stock, so it wasn't a crypto. And for me, I ain't going over there. Like it's kind of breaks my ethics. Like, I'm not with them. I'm not with that party. Just like we're about to move about a Telegram because Bill Gates bought Telegram. I ain't with that either. I'm out. So we're going to be moving into Geneva, and that's going to be awesome for us all because all of the help docs and articles and stuff will just be available right there, especially for newcomers. Like onboarding stuff and all that is just going to be right there, so you won't even have to really go to the site to get it. At first, I wasn't going to do it because I was like, Telegram is really like crypto in itself because, a lot of the cryptocurrencies were on Telegram first. But I was like, well, but we always do better. So we're about to get on and get into something that's a little bit better than using Telegram. Can money on the external ledger actually also be in Binance running? No. Once something is in the ledger, because it's a cold wallet, it can't go anywhere else. It's literally saying that now you have it in your pocket. And the wild thing about a ledger, man, is I don't care who it is, who they are, how much authority they have, whoever. If they cannot get those 12 words out of your mouth, they can never touch that money. If you're always looking for a parachute for your family or something that maybe I don't know, maybe you're a foreign spy or some shit. You got one of those perilous jobs where, you're just worrying about how to stabilize your family. This is the thing in the spy movie that they pass to the kids. Like, if something happens to me, you always have this. This is the level of where cryptocurrency is and how protected it is once it gets into something like a ledger or just on a piece of paper as far as those keys that actually unlock those wallets. So that looks like it brings us to the end. Wholeness and Balanced Vibrations, family. Like, this was obviously a great time to connect and for us to go into the financial side of things. I never like to be one-sided with everything that I present. And I love that we're considering the financial aspects of things because it's very important in the times that we're in. We will get a recording of this up. I, of course, will email it to you. I know some missed the meeting today because of other engagements. So it's important that they have it. So it will get processed soon. And that'll allow you also to go back through any of the things that we mentioned today to get a greater level of clarity. Also, remember, if you're just jumping in and you haven't been inside the chat yet, we do have a Telegram chat that's specifically dedicated towards getting you more assistance in onboarding. And then also we have live support at the bottom right of the site. One of the biggest updates that actually makes things a lot more easier for me is now the gateway resolves regardless of whether you're putting your transaction fee in or not. And so for those that have been sending payments to us and not including your transaction fee, it created us to have to liaise with you manually and go in and start a whole process of you adding the additional funds that you missed in putting in. Now it just does that automatically. You get the credits for exactly what you pay for, less the transaction fee, and you're able to run automatically instantly. So what that's going to allow us to do is move on to the affiliation, because that is also a very strong integration. It's not as easy as just flipping a button, especially with hundreds, if not thousands of transactions, even a day, sometimes even in an hour. So we either had to decide, do we fix the gateway or do we bring in the affiliation? And I chose the gateway because it takes 30% of my day to make sure that we're on time with all those tickets. So I wanted to get that done as fast as possible, because it could be a bit frustrating if you make a payment and still you need to wait, right? Even if you did make a little mistake that was mentioned in the banner. But anyway, wholeness and balanced vibrations, everyone. Thank you so much. If you need us, we're here. If you need mentorship, hey, in the past, all the most enigmatic people, like your princes, whatever, they all had scholars around them. They had mentors around them. This new thing, this new age, has got folks thinking they could do all this on their own. This is even why we read books. Somebody can spend 30 years of their lives trying to figure something out and write it all in a book. You come by, read the book, you just went through 30 years almost of experience. So always remember the power of mentors is important in these times in order to, at least ping off somebody and see if the decisions that you're making are congruent where you need to be going. So check us out at Sovereignty Mentorship if that interests you, and we'll keep moving through this wholeness. See you soon.